Hello everyone, in this video we will be seeing part 14 of What If Deku Was in the DC Universe, so be sure to stick around until the end. Let's get started. It was just another day in Metropolis High and the Titans all sat down for their easiest class of the week, home economics. It was their last class and the teacher often allowed them to get out a little early if they were ahead of their work. Usually they would spend the class cooking something or talking about food, but their usual teacher was sick for the day, and thus they were stuck with a substitute teacher. The egg, one of the simplest and fragile forms of life. Since Miss Dorothy is sick for the day, she instructed me to deliver this team project, the substitute teacher said. In life you will have to partner up with people you may not necessarily like, and this project will put your cooperation skills to the test. He added, holding up an egg. The class looked up at their substitute teacher as he explained the assignment. This'll be easy, we already work great together as a team, Diana said to Izuku and her friends. Yeah, if we can handle robots and supervillains, we can handle this, Kara said, shrugging it off. This does seem like an easy assignment, Izuku added. Alright, here are the pairs, Diana and Karen, Hal and Selena, Barbara and Garth, Z and Oliver, Queen, Tatsu and Leslie, Jessica and Pamela, Carter and Barry, Harleen and Kara, Galatea and Carol. And last but not least, Izuku and Barbie, the substitute listed off, earning a diverse collection of reactions. Diana and Karen were excited since they already had experience working together. Hal tried to flirt with Selena, who merely rolled her eyes. Barbara and Garth waved to each other in glee. Z and Oliver both gasped in annoyance. Tatsu glared at Leslie, who was willing to squash their egg before the assignment started. Pamela rolled her eyes without any desire to live, even if Jessica smiled at her. Harleen woke up from her nap before going back to sleep, causing Kara to groan. Carol demanded a divorce from Galatea, which she just blew off. And lastly, Barbie gave Izuku some hungry glances. This was perfect for the civilian alter ego of Cheetah. She was going to spend an entire weekend with the target of her primal affections. She was already formulating plans on how to seduce him. Now before any of you get any ideas, there are some rules for this assignment. First off, the eggs have all been marked with a special stamp. Second, you will be given alarms that will simulate a real baby cry. You'll have to comfort the egg for it to stop crying. You will have to work together and care for your eggs. I expect the best out of each of you, the substitute explained. As the pairs met up, Izuku was about to go meet up with his partner when someone landed on his desk, nearly crushing the egg. He looked up and suddenly felt like a bunny caught by a hungry cat. Hello there, little one, Barbie said with a tone that would make men into putty with ease. Izuku blushed, but couldn't help but feel like he was being eyed by a predator. Hello Barbie. Hope we can get along in this assignment, Izuku stuttered slightly, holding out his hand. Sorry we started off on the wrong foot the other day, but I hope we can work past it. Oh, Cinnamon Bun, I'm sure we'll get along fabulously. You needn't worry about the assignment nor about me. All water under the bridge, Barbie said with a sultry smile. Wait for me at the entrance of the school, don't be late, she added, poking his nose playfully. Don't you want to decorate the egg like the other pairs are doing? Izuku asked, holding up the egg. Barbie raised an eyebrow in confusion. She then noticed that everyone was doing what Izuku had mentioned. She had forgotten the actual reason for the pairing. Oh yes, maybe we can draw over the stamped face of the teacher, Barbie suggested. Perhaps make it look like our own child, she muttered in a low voice. What? Izuku asked. Nothing, Cinnamon Bun. Let's get to work, Barbie said, sitting down next to Izuku. During the rest of the class time, Izuku and Barbie spent the time trying to come up with a schedule to take care of their egg. However, no matter what Izuku brought up, Barbie wasn't paying so much attention to him as she tried seducing him. It was not lost on him that Barbie was trying to get his attention in a far more physical manner. She had spent her time doing innocent things like winking at him or blowing him kisses to doing not-so-innocent things like bending over and swaying her hips when she walked. Izuku tried to shrug off her antics by trying to focus on his tasks and getting ahead with his homework. He was not oblivious to the fact that Barbie was trying to seduce him, but it was certainly not what he was expecting. Izuku had expected Barbie to try to put all the responsibility on him and just go off and do her own thing, stuff you'd expect from the stereotypical queen bee of high school. He didn't want to assume that she had ulterior motives, but he did. So I was thinking that I can take the egg tonight, and Izuku began before Barbie cut him off. Nonsense, honey bun, you can come sleep at my house for the weekend, Barbie said. It'll be like our very own home and honeymoon. Or a fancy sleepover, whichever one you prefer, darling. I'll go get the car, she said, getting out of the classroom while swaying her hips in a hypnotic rhythm. Barbie smirked to herself, believing that her actions had gotten her the attention she wanted. Now all she had to do was reel in the man she desired and she would win. She'd get her alpha and satisfy her primal desires. Izuku had gathered his things and packed some spare clothes as well as the egg that he and Barbie had to take care of. He had also packed his hero suit in case he needed to jump out and help around the city. He was a bit worried about how Barbie was taking in the situation and how she was clearly trying to seduce him. It couldn't have been anything good, he thought. According to the rest of her team, save Diana, a girl like Barbie was one that always had something up her sleeve. The sound of a sports car engine approaching got Izuku out of his thoughts. Right in front of him was Barbie, driving her fancy car with a pair of golden sunglasses on her face. She turned to face him and gave him a seductive wink. "Hop in, darling, I promise it won't bite," Barbie said with a flirty tone. "Unless you want her to." Izuku felt his face light up like a Christmas tree at her innuendo. He could feel many stares drilling into his skull. Some of envy from both male and female students, and some of rage at how he had gotten another woman to fall for him. If he wasn't in this predicament, he'd swear that this only happened in romantic comedies or fanfiction. Izuku slowly walked towards the car, not making eye contact with anyone. He got in the car before buckling up. "Hold on, sweetie," Barbie said, adjusting her sunglasses. "This bad girl likes to go fast. Are you sure you can go at that speed in this part of town?" Izuku asked as Barbie stepped on the accelerator without a care in the world. The egg that Izuku and Barbie had to take care of was flung back. Izuku reached out and caught it. He held onto the seat of the car as Barbie drove like she was in a race for the golden cup. "What do you think of the speed, honey? She really knows how to cut loose, am I right?" Barbie asked, taking a close curve at top speed. "Barbara, could you slow down?" Izuku shrieked in fear. "We can't go 70 miles in downtown Metropolis." "You need to relax, honey. Enjoy life a little," Barbie said. "And please call me Barbie. Barbara just makes me sound so old." Izuku's eyes widened at the sight of some pedestrians in front of them. "Watch out, watch out," Izuku called out with tears comically blasting out of his eyes. Barbie quickly turned the wheel, driving around the pedestrians. She then spun the steering wheel back to where it was. "Those people should really be careful. Didn't they know that we had the right of way?" Barbie asked. "Now where was I? Oh yes, so would you like to take a dip in the pool now or later?" "What?" Izuku asked, amazed that Barbie would be so oblivious to the road and her driving. Izuku was about to give her a stern talking about her dangerous driving, when suddenly there was a loud cry coming from both his phone and Barbie's. Barbie hit the brakes just in time for the light to turn red. "What is this infernal racket?" Barbie demanded, pulling out her phone to inspect it. Izuku did the same with his phone. He checked the alarm and understood what it was. "Oh, this must be what the substitute teacher meant," Izuku said. "This is meant to imitate the cries of an actual baby. We need to calm the baby so that it stops crying," he explained. Barbie groaned. This was the last thing she needed. She wanted to seduce her alpha male to go to bed with her, not to take care of an egg pretending to be an infant. "Oh, just leave it, it'll calm itself in a minute," Barbie groaned before an idea sparked in her mind. "We could use this time to get to know each other better," she added, reaching for his hand. Izuku pulled away from her and went to work on keeping the baby happy. He held his phone and the egg in his hands and cradled them. He moved his arms in unison, getting the crying to lessen until it eventually stopped. "There we go, all better now," Izuku said before he put the phone away. "We can go now." Barbie was honestly surprised. Not only had the green-haired young man rejected her advances, but he had also focused more on the silly task than her. She felt jealous, and unsure of how to proceed with her plans. She turned around to see the light turn green before accelerating, at a much slower pace this time. She needed to bide her time and learn more about her future mate if she was to succeed. As they pulled up to the house, Barbie started rethinking her strategy. She tried to remember what her mother did to get her daddy, but then she remembered that it had been an arranged marriage. She then thought of all those cliché movies and TV dramas that she watched to raise herself. That sprung an idea in her mind. Barbie would attempt to feign interest in her future lover's likes and then use her attractive body to snatch him. The plan was perfect for her. "Wow, Barbie, is this really your home?" Izuku asked, looking at the mansion. "Yes, well technically it's my parents, but they rarely spend time here," Barbie said, earning a sad look from Izuku. "So in a way this is my home. Don't you ever feel lonely?" Izuku asked with genuine care. Barbie stopped herself at his question. She hadn't thought about that. She had always surrounded herself with adoring fans, people that looked up to her because of her beauty, her skills, her position, or her body. But she couldn't really think about anyone as an actual partner. Her hand held the keys so tightly that she nearly snapped it in two as she pondered the question. "Barbie?" Izuku asked, placing his hand on her shoulder. Barbie was snapped out of her thoughts by his action. "You sorta zoned out there for a second," Izuku said. "Do you feel all right?" Barbie looked at his eyes and could see genuine sympathy for her. This was new to her, but she couldn't show weakness. "Of course not," Barbie said in a stern, almost cold tone. "Come along, I'll show you to the guest room," she added, getting out of the car. Izuku wasn't sure what had just happened. One minute Barbie was being all flirty with him and the next, she was almost defensive. He let out a sigh. He'd be in this house taking care of an egg for a whole weekend with Barbie. They had to talk sooner or later. Izuku placed his little bag in a guest room bigger than Kara and Galatea's whole room. He checked his phone for any messages, and noticed a couple of texts with pictures which showed the girls with their respective partners. Diana and Karen had finished building a protective transport nest for their egg. Kara was forced to cradle both the egg and her partner after she crashed from a sugar rush. Barbara and Garth were in the park with their egg, which was now dressed like Batman. Jessica was actually picking flowers while Pamela gave their egg a particularly hungry look. Z was looking rather annoyed by her partner as Oliver tried to play the part of a caring father fit for Shakespeare. Galatea was begrudgingly following Carol as she took their egg, Hal Jr., for a stroll. Tatsu had ditched Leslie and was going through her studies while attempting to teach her egg what she was doing. Izuku smiled at the pictures. He felt proud that his team was making good progress on their assignment. He only hoped that he and his partner could do just as well. He then heard a knock on the door. He turned around and saw Barbie standing at the door entry with a smile on her face. "Are you all set up, darling?" Barbie asked. "You like the room? Is it up to your standards?" "Oh yeah, this is a very nice room. Thank you for letting me stay here, Barbie," Izuku replied. "You are very welcomed, honey. Now how would you like to?" Barbie began before she realized something. Barbie had no idea what to do now. She didn't know what her future maid liked. Would you like a tour of the P-place?" Barbie asked out of desperation. Yeah, sure," Izuku agreed. "Let me just put the egg in a basket or something to carry it around." Why would you do that? Just leave the little thing in a crib and it'll be fine," Barbie shrugged off. "We can then have some time to ourselves." Just as she said that, the crying alarm sounded once more. Barbie groaned in irritation. Izuku was about to cradle the egg and phone to make it stop, when an idea crossed his mind. "Hey Barbie, why don't you try cradling the baby for a little bit?" Izuku asked, shocking Barbie. Wah? Me with a baby? I, Barbie stuttered. Izuku picked up the baby egg and handed it to Barbie along with his phone. "Just hold the egg as if it was a baby, with both arms like a hammock," Izuku explained. Barbie did what he was telling her. She felt a little out of place as she looked at the egg in her hand. She never thought she'd be in this position. "Don't worry, just take it slow," Izuku said. "Remember to hold the egg as if it was the baby's head." Am I doing it correctly?" Barbie asked. "Just move it a little slower," Izuku said before thinking of something that might help. "Try to remember how your parents used to rock you when you cried." Barbie stiffened up at the thought that Izuku had mentioned. "She didn't tell me," Barbie said, slowing down her rocking. The egg stopped crying, much to the relief of Barbie. She quickly gave the egg to Izuku before turning away. "Let's go on with the tour, shall we?" Barbie said, leaving without hearing a single reply. Sure," Izuku replied, looking down at the egg. Izuku could tell that it was a topic that Barbie didn't want to talk about. He could see the relationship that she had with her parents. He didn't know if he was in any position to help her through this, but his heroic instincts were telling him to give it a try. Izuku ran after Barbie as she began to give him the very expected tour that she'd promised. Barbie led Izuku through the halls of her home. She pointed to and explained what each of the different pieces were. She didn't much care for the archaeological pieces from the African continent, but she did want to move along from the awkward position that she had been in an hour ago. "And this piece was found in the western part of Ethiopia. According to my father, this was one of the first carved images of the great Egyptian goddess Bast outside of Egypt," Barbie explained, as she pointed to an old tapestry. "Wow, this must be very important to be kept in such conditions," Izuku said. "Shouldn't this be in a museum?" "If it is too important, I mean. Let's just say my father prefers to keep some of the things he finds instead of giving them away," Barbie said. "If only he stuck around to see that they are taken care of," she mumbled. Barbie caught Izuku giving her a worried look. She stiffened up, shrugging off her more depressing thoughts. "And outside we've got the pool. Feel free to take a dip, honey," Barbie said. Thanks, but I don't have a swimsuit," Izuku said as his face turned red. "Oh no, don't worry. I'll go au natural if it makes you feel any better," Barbie replied, winking at Izuku. Just then, the egg began to cry again. "Oh, for goodness sake, why is it crying now?" Barbie asked. "It feels like this one is doing this on purpose," she growled. "We just have to deal with it," Izuku said, secretly thanking the baby for crying. Children need to be helped and loved so that they can become self-sufficient. That's what parents are supposed to do. Barbie looked away as Izuku tried to calm down the baby. She felt conflicted and more stressed than she had ever felt in years. The cries of the baby weren't helping her. She wanted to drop the whole charade and get what she desired. She wanted to pull out her claws and rip and tear their clothes off. She wanted to release all her desires and go wild like the beast that she was inside. She felt her emotions boil, and the baby crying was not helping her. "Shut it," Barbie snapped at the baby egg. The egg stopped crying for a second, before crying even louder. Barbie stiffened up as the baby cried. She immediately regretted snapping at the egg. She looked at Izuku and she was shocked with the disapproving look on his face. "Look, I understand that you aren't thrilled to play mom to an egg, but you can't snap at people when things don't go your way," Izuku said, rocking his arms. "You don't have to always get your way. Sometimes you have to put the needs of others ahead of yours." Izuku's words struck Barbie, but she didn't know why she was feeling like this. She felt a sting of guilt tugging at her heart. "Here, let me," Barbie said, coming from a strange place of weakness and sincerity. Izuku handed her the egg and phone as she began to rock her arms. There, Eggsy. Mummy didn't mean it, Barbie said, rocking the egg slowly and with a calm voice. Mummy didn't mean to snap like that. Please don't cry. The crying began to lessen, and eventually it calmed down. Barbie let out a sigh, even though she didn't know she was holding her breath. Look, I understand that you don't trust me, and I know that I'm not the most pleasant of people, Barbie said. But if there's one thing that my parents did stick around to teach me, was that you need to go for what you want. You need to be willing to do anything to get to the top. I suppose your parents didn't give it to you like that? Not like that, but they also taught me to be kind to others, Izuku replied. Is this why you always want to compete with Diana? Yes, I work hard to get to the top and be noticed by people, and then she shows up and gets it all, Barbie replied. I know that I shouldn't hate her, but when you see the ease that she gets everything, I can't avoid feeling jealous. After everything I do, she still comes out on top. I'm sure you work your hardest, but life isn't a competition, Izuku said. Have you ever thought that maybe she has just as many things to do like you? She's far from home and has to get used to a whole new way of life. But she has people like you to help her out, Barbie said, looking at the egg. I've only got this museum and my jealousy. You don't have to, Izuku said, holding out his hand. I can help you if you want me to. Barbie looked at Izuku's hand cautiously. A part of her wanted to take the hand and advance her desire to seduce Izuku. But another part of her didn't want to because she was unsure of his act of kindness, and another part of her wanted to get a hold of his hand for the feeling that someone cared for her. She felt her face heat up as she debated within her mind what to do. The primal part of her that was influenced by the cheetah said to go for it and take him upstairs. The strict part of her wanted to refuse the hand as she couldn't show weakness, and the lonely little girl part of her wanted to hold his hand and feel loved. She was so focused on her dilemma that she almost dropped their egg. Izuku noticed it and screamed in fear. The egg, Izuku cried out, snapping Barbie from her inner debate. Eggsy, Barbie cried out as a maternal instinct aroused inside her. Izuku shot out to catch the egg before it fell to the floor. Barbie knelt down quickly, attempting to catch Eggsy before it hit the floor. They both caught the egg before it could hit the floor, but just as they did that, Izuku realized that he had moved too quickly. They crashed into each other, taking each other to the ground. But thankfully the egg was unharmed. Izuku found himself face first in Barbie's breasts and on top of the pristine girl. He looked up from where he was and saw that Barbie was looking at him. But gone were the seductive eyes of the popular girl, and gone were also the amber-colored eyes of the lonely girl. He saw her eyes glow a bright emerald with the eye slits being those of a cat. He then noticed that her face was all red by the embarrassment. Izuku quickly realized that he was on top of a girl that he was not romantically involved with. He jumped off her like a cat out of the water. I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Izuku apologized, bowing to Barbie as a form to make up for his mistake. Barbie remained unresponsive as her face heated up even more. She snapped back to her feet with Eggsy in hand. She walked past Izuku and went towards the kitchen. Izuku noticed this and quickly went after her, believing that she was angry. He tried to get her attention, but she didn't reply. She only walked forward to the kitchen. Barbie placed Eggsy in the fridge before closing the door. Barbie, are you alright? Izuku asked as Barbie pulled him to the room where he was staying. Barbie closed the door before turning to Izuku with her cat-like eyes focused on him. Izuku, I just want you to know that this is in no way your fault, Barbie said, kicking off her shoes. But you've awakened something in me, and I need you to take responsibility. Before Izuku could even argue what was going on, Barbie jumped at Izuku. She captured his lips with her own as she clung to his body with her arms and legs. Barbie gasped as her cheetah self asserted itself completely. She released her hold on Izuku before collapsing on top of him. They gasped and panted, trying to catch their breaths. That was amazing, my love, Barbie moaned, rubbing her furry hand on Izuku's chest. Barbie, you are cheetah? Izuku asked, looking at the now transformed woman. Barbie's eyes snapped open as she looked at herself. She looked up at Izuku's eyes and was met with shock. Her face lit up red. Surprise, Barbie said sheepishly. I'm sorry, Izuku repeated. Izuku repeated, bowing his head in front of all the supergirls except for Tatsu. The girls were all glaring at him with anger in their eyes. Izuku had come clean about what had happened during the weekend, and it was easy to say that they weren't happy. They were all angry, and all with good reason, but their anger wasn't aimed directly at Izuku. No, their anger was mostly aimed at the furry woman next to Izuku. Barbie had gone with Izuku to meet with the girls and come clean to their misdoings, mostly because she felt partially responsible for putting her mate in this position. Izuku had been apologizing and bowing for forgiveness for almost a whole hour, but it felt like an instant to the poor guy. He felt that it was only a matter of time before any of the girls tore him apart, either physically or verbally. He felt horrible for what he had done, and was willing to take any punishment that they deemed worthy. Oh, calm down, honey, Barbie said, still in her cheetah form. You were mostly fighting me off. We can't blame you for being overtaken. What we spots, Kara snapped. Why didn't you kick her off with one of your kicks or push her off with some real muscle? Galatea asked. I didn't know that she was Cheetah back then, Izuku replied, breaking his long repeating list of apologies. You were holding back? Wow, Barbie said. Don't get any ideas, Para. Jessica stepped in. Izuku is our boyfriend, which means we must now punish him for being seduced by a damn gata calejera con pechos grandes. She added in an uncharacteristic angry tone. How dare you do that, you meanie, Karen added on the edge of tears. I say we put this cat in the nearest dog pound and see how she likes it, Barbara said. I feel dirty even having the same name as you. I say we skin this cat lady before she tries anything else, Z suggested with her hands coated in purple magic. Good idea, Z, Kara said, cracking her knuckles. Diana, what do you say, Z asked, looking at her leader. Diana had been uncharacteristically silent. Her eyes had been solely focused on Izuku. She felt like she was boiling in rage, and that she was being eaten by something she had only felt once before. She felt jealous of Cheetah, much like how she was jealous of Kara when she made love with Izuku. But this time it was worse. She slowly approached both Izuku and Barbie. Her hair was covering her face. Barbie stopped Izuku's bowing as Diana stood over them. Diana's hand balled into a fist. Barbie recoiled in fear. She'd never seen Diana, or her alter ego Wonder Woman, this furious. No one had ever been this angry with her. Izuku, with tears in his eyes, stood still. He would take his punishment like a man. It was the least that he could do after breaking the hearts of the people he loved. However, there was no punch. Diana gave Izuku a deep, earnest hug. But I thought that you were. Izuku asked, confused. I am. What happened did wound my heart, but if I lash out I would only wound it more, Diana said. Hurting you won't change what happened. All we can do is work through it and become better. Everyone was shocked by Diana's words. Wait, you're not angry? Barbie asked. Oh, do not misunderstand, Barbie, I am quite furious with you, Diana replied. But for now, let's just say that your punishment, my love, will be no sex for the foreseeable future, and you will have to take all of us on dates, she said, lifting Izuku back to his feet. Izuku looked at Diana and then at the rest of his girlfriends. He wiped the tears from his face. He knew that he could have gotten a lot worse and probably deserved worse. But he needed to regain their trust and make up for his mistakes. Understood, Diana. I'll do my best to regain the trust of all of you, Izuku said, bowing his head. Oh, this is going to be fun, Kara muttered, and Galatea nodded in agreement. It may not be what I hoped for, but at least that leaves me a lot of ground to work with, Z said to the side. You know that proclamation just makes women want to sleep with you more, right, honey? Barbie chided in, earning angry glares from the girls. And that brings us to your punishment, Barbie, Diana said as she and the other girls surrounded the once fierce Cheetah. Barbie's eyes shrunk down as the menacing silhouettes gathered around her. Meow, Barbie mewled in fear. The next day, Izuku was helping out Karen and Barbara by taking all their equipment from school to their respective homes. He carried heavy textbooks, toolboxes, lunchboxes, and pieces of heavy machinery. All right, Izuku, just a couple more blocks and we'll be by my home, Karen said. You sure you don't want to rest for a minute? No thanks, Karen, I can take it, Izuku said, struggling without the use of his quirk. That's great, Izuku. Next up will be my house, Barbara said, looking at her phone. Which is at least 10 blocks away, in the opposite direction, she added with a sneaky smile. No problem, Izuku grunted. As part of his punishment, Izuku had to do everything that the girls asked of him. That meant that he couldn't deny or say something to avoid doing what they asked of him. He had to do this for at least 3 weeks, and during that time the girls had demanded special dates that he had to pay for. Izuku even started looking for a part-time job to pay for all that they had in mind. Of course, Izuku had gotten off a little better than Barbie had. Why must I wear this damned collar like a pet cat? Barbie demanded. And do I really have to wear this uniform? Barbie was wearing a French-made uniform on her person with a special choker on her neck. The choker resembled a pet leash with a name tag that had a special rune written on it. Why yes, Barbie, that little thing will not only keep you from going all kitty on us, Z said, holding up a cup of tea. But it will also keep a track of you in case you think of getting a little frisky with our darling. Besides, the uniform looks good on you, Kara said. Barbie was now working as a maid for the girls as a form of apology for trying to steal their boyfriend. She was then forced to wear the uniform of a maid, and was currently in Z's penthouse with the rest of the superhero girls, holding up a tray filled with a kettle of tea and cups. Do not distress, Barbie. Izuku told us about your real feelings and told us to go easy on you, Diana said, lifting her cup. We can hardly blame you for falling in love with someone like we all did. Then pray tell why I'm wearing a maid uniform and the cat collar, Barbie asked. Because you tried to seduce him without coming to us first, Diana replied, earning a grunt from Barbie. If you prove that you are willing to change and wish to do so, we can discuss it. Really? Barbie asked with a surprising amount of enthusiasm. She wanted to have another night of passion with the man that she loved ever since she realized that he was holding back. However, as soon as that thought passed through her mind, the necklace shocked her slightly. We shall see, Diana said. Can I get some cookies, Barb? Galatea asked. Barbie's eye twitched in slight annoyance. Right away, miss, Barbie replied. If there's a chance for me to be with my mate, then I'll deal with this. she said to herself, going for more tea biscuits. Izuku and most of the girls were at the high school library working on their respective homeworks. Barbie was also with them, not in uniform but still being at the beck and call of the girls. The group had decided to spend some time at the library figuring out their respective works to have the rest of the weekend off. Everyone was working on their own thing, sharing notes if needed with each other. Well, that wasn't exactly what was going on. What about this one? Kara asked, pointing to the algebra equation in her notebook. Sorry, Kara, you got it wrong again. You need to first find the variable like this, Izuku replied, showing the daughter of Krypton the proper way. Ha, told you had it wrong, T laughed. You also got it wrong, Ms. Danvers, Barbie replied with a slight smirk on her face. X doesn't equal and, I'd do it all again just to get it straight. Why you little, T began before Izuku caught her off. Here T, let me show you, Izuku said, pulling Galatea away from Barbie. Izuku and Barbie had taken the role of tutors, with Barbie being forced to wear a professor's uniform. Her hair was tied in a bun with a pair of glasses on her nose and a pencil skirt. Isn't this nice? Our beloved is helping us and we get a few giggles out of it, Z said, giggling at the dress that Barbie was wearing. But you should still do your own homework and only ask if you need help, Z, Jessica said, flipping through her notes. Yeah, but I'm surprised that Barbie knows so much about history, Karen said. You got the date wrong, Ms. Breacher. The day you're thinking of is the end of the First World War, not the birth of the automobile, Barbie said with a strict teacher act. Honestly, how could you confuse those two? However, this only got Z to lightly kick Barbie to apologize. Barbie's eyes briefly glowed green, causing the necklace to pull back the cheetah transformation. What I meant to say was, be careful not to mix those two, Barbie said, forcing herself to be nice. Sorry, Diana is usually the one that helps me with history, Karen said. Yes, I did notice that Prince isn't here. Why did she bail out on this riveting homework session? Barbie asked, spotting Izuku trying to pull a comic book out of Barbara's hands. Shouldn't your fearless leader be the one leading this? Diana said she needed to check up on something where she lived and left in a hurry, Jessica explained. Just then, Izuku released the comic book from Barbara's steel-gripping hands, but that made him fall to the ground. After getting shushed by the librarian, he got back up. He apologized to the old lady as he got back up. He then noticed what was on the floor. Hey guys, isn't this Diana's phone? Izuku asked, holding up the phone from the floor. The girls looked at the phone, recognizing it. Diana must have dropped it when she left, Kara said. Then just go and give it to her, Barbie added, getting looks from everyone. You know where she lives, right? That question shattered the train of thought of the young heroes. After all the time that they had known Diana, none of them knew where she lived. The girls were freaking out, feeling completely clueless at the realization. Izuku felt even worse. She was his girlfriend and lover, and yet he didn't know where she was staying. Barbie, however, wasn't feeling sorry or shocked. She was on the floor laughing like a hyena. Oh good God, this is too good. Barbie laughed. She wasn't even bothered by the collar lightly shocking her. Where has she been living all this time? Izuku asked. How did we never ask her? Jessica asked. Maybe she's been crashing at the lair, Kara asked. Maybe she rented an apartment or something, Galatea added. Oh my gosh, we're horrible friends, Karen called out. The librarian shushed them once more, giving them the stink eye. The heroes immediately stopped their screaming, and gave the old librarian many quiet sorries. How are we going to find her? We need to know where she went, Z said. Don't worry, I'll just use my tracker, Barbara said, getting the attention of the rest. Barbara, what are you talking about? Izuku asked. Oh, didn't I tell you? I put trackers on all of you, Barbara said in a nonchalant manner. On our bags, or on our clothes? Z asked. I would rather not say, but yeah, I can track all of you at all times, Barbara said, pulling out her bat tablet. Does she do stuff like that often? Barbie asked. Oh yeah, I totally track people of interest, Barbara said, typing at her tablet for a location. I even put a tracker on you, Barbie. What? Barbie asked, looking over her body for signs of the tracker. Where is it? When did you put it on me? She asked, feeling her body for anything that could be a tracker. Don't worry, it's not a big deal, Barbara said offhandedly. Barbie and the rest of the group glared at Barbara. They would have a long talk about not putting trackers on people without their consent afterwards. Barbara smiled sheepishly. Let's go find Diana's house, Barbara said, walking away from their glares. I am so getting my body checked for that damn tracker, Barbie growled. I will not be chipped like some common house pet. Yet you purred when Nuestro Novio petted you, Jess remarked with a sly smile. She got you there, kitty. Kara laughed as she and T walked ahead of her. Grr, I hate you all, Barbie growled as Izuku tried to keep the peace between the members of the group. The Teen Titans and Barbie followed Barbara as she tracked down the location of their friend. They had crossed most of the city, looking for an apartment complex or a house that was available to rent. But none of the places looked like places where Diana would have found it easy to live in. They were starting to worry about where Diana was living. Barbara, are you sure we're going in the right direction? Izuku asked. Of course we are, Barbara said, looking up from her tablet. She should be right above us. Hey Babs, Kara said. Yeah? Barbara asked. We're at the park, Kara said, pointing out that the group had indeed arrived at the Central Metropolis Park. What is Diana doing here? Izuku asked. Maybe she likes to walk here, Jessica suggested. Izuku's sister's up here. Diana's voice called out. Izuku, Barbie, and the rest of the Titans looked up at the big tree where they heard the voice coming from. Their eyes widened at the sight above them. They took a step back to make sure that their eyes weren't pulling a trick on them. On the branches of the big tree were the remains of a small sailboat that looked a lot like the ones that Hippolyta and her Amazons came on when they first met Diana. The boat itself had been repurposed and remade to form a kind of treehouse with stable floor, and a roof made from the bottom of the ship, and the sails had been fashioned into a door. Diana poked her head from inside her home and waved at them. I'll be right down, Diana said, climbing down a rope. I welcome you to my home. So what brings you here? The team was still reeling from the shock of their discovery. You've forgot your phone, Diana, Izuku said, handing her her phone. Oh, thank you very much, Izuku. I was wondering where I had left it, Diana said. Diana, have you been living here since you came to the city? Jessica asked, pointing to the treehouse. Yes, it took me some elbow grease to make the few changes I needed to rework it. At first I was thinking of making my shelter like a simple tent. But when I decided to remain here for much longer, I used my ship to make the shelter, Diana explained with pride in her voice. I'm afraid that it isn't much to look at, but I'd gladly give you the tour. The rest of the Titans looked at each other upon realizing that Diana had been living like a hobo in the park. Despite how impressive it was that Diana was always so prepared and put together, this was not a good thing. Kara, Galatea, and Barbie held back a laugh at the idea that Diana's neighbors were squirrels and birds, but one look from the others shut them up. Diana, you can't live here, Jessica said. Why not? An Amazon must make their shelter in whatever land we make our home, Diana said. Besides, I've been able to handle the beasts that live nearby. So wait, you're saying that your neighbors are actually birds and squirrels? Kara asked. Yes, they pop by from time to time, Diana replied. Kara and Galatea couldn't take it any longer. They began laughing, with Barbie joining them a little bit. The rest of the team gave them a slight glare, but Diana wasn't sure what was so humorous. Diana, what Jessica means is that this is a public park, people don't live here, Izuku explained. Teenagers like us usually live in homes or apartments. If the school finds out that you aren't living with an adult with a fixed address, there will be trouble. We cannot in good faith leave you to live in the wilderness like an animal, Z added. You must find another place to live in. But if I cannot live here, then where will I go? Diana asked, feeling a little hurt that she was forced to leave her makeshift home. Hey, maybe you can live with one of us if you want, Jessica suggested. That's a great idea, Jess. I've been staying with Kara and Galatea with the Danvers, Izuku said. I can vouch that it's a good idea. Especially when you're sleeping with them, Galatea added. And constantly teasing him, she giggled. Izuku blushed at the comment. Ever since his punishment began, sleeping in the same room as Kara and Galatea was the definition of torture. They would walk around the room in their underwear while blowing kisses to him. They would press their bodies against his and would hug him as if he was a teddy bear. And they would whisper into his ear what they did in the shower. Easy to say that Izuku spent most of his time at home looking like he had just gotten sunburnt. Z and the other girls noticed his reaction and could only imagine what he was going through at home. There we go, Diana. You can sleep in one of our houses for each day, and then you can decide in which one you want to stay, Jessica said. This sparked an idea in Barbie's mind, which developed into a sneaky smile. You know, darling, if living with the cave women is no longer pleasant for you, there's always room in my mansion for you to sleep over, Barbie sultrily told Izuku, causing him to blush like a tomato. However, that comment was not unheard of by the rest of the group. Z was about to use the necklace to shock Barbie, but Izuku signaled her not to do it. Thank you, Barbie, but I'm good with the Danvers, so, Izuku stuttered, earning a couple smiles from the girls. Actually, since Izuku has more experience sleeping in other people's houses, maybe he could go with Diana to each of our houses to see which one fits her the best, Barbara suggested. And since Barbie's home is mostly empty, she could offer a place for Diana to stay, if she doesn't like any of our homes. What? Both Izuku and Barbie asked. That is a great idea, Barbara, Diana said, hugging both Izuku and Barbie. I look forward to hearing your advice, Izuku. And I thank you for offering me a place to live, Barbie. Barbie tried to pry herself off of Diana's bear hug but found herself stuck. You needn't mention it, Barbie replied. You're welcome, Diana. But we still need to breathe, Izuku said. Oh, sorry, I got a little carried away, Diana said, slightly embarrassed letting them drop. I'll go get my stuff for the… What do you call a slumber something? A slumber party? Barbie asked. Yes, that is it. I shall go get my things, Diana said before climbing up the rope to her former boat, now treehouse. Well, if no one is opposed to it, I'll take both Izuku and Diana tonight, Jessica said. I am ready, Diana said, dropping down with all her things tied in a bag on her spear. Let us go, Izuku, to the home of Jessica, she said, picking up both Izuku and Jessica with her spare arm. Diana rushed off with both Izuku and Jessica, leaving the other girls behind. What can that woman not do? Barbie asked. I mean, seriously, You'll learn not to question these things, Kara shrugged. Kinda lame that we don't get to tease Izuku tonight. Yep, Galatea agreed. Izuku, Diana, and Jessica arrived at the Cruz residence after passing through the Danvers home to pick up some clothes for Izuku. Cruz's home was filled with rescued animals from different parts of the city, trees filled with fruits and organic vegetarian foods for the animals. The place was built like an animal sanctuary with a living room with big comfy dog beds for not only the dogs but also the cats, parrots, hamsters, and one raccoon. Wow, Jessica, this place is amazing, Izuku said, looking at the home. Yes, this place is beautiful, Jessica. It reminds me of the jungles of Themyscira, Diana added, putting down her weapons. Thanks, guys. My parents and I help out the animal sanctuary by taking in some strays, Jessica explained, petting one of the dogs next to her. We try to find them a good home and take care of them and help the shelter when they need the space. I texted my parents and they're both cool with you two crashing for the night. Izuku stiffened at the idea of meeting Jessica's parents. Not only was he in hot water with Jessica, but he had slept with her before meeting her parents. The first impression needed to be perfect. Don't worry, Jess, we'll be the best house guests you could ask for, Izuku said, putting on a straight face as if he were talking to a military general. Well said, Izuku, Diana said. Calm down, guys, this isn't a military camp. Take a load off, eat something or run a bath, Jessica said before her phone beeped with a text. She read it before looking at her friends. Listen guys, I need to go pick up my parents since their carpooling buddy had to leave in a hurry. Be right back, make yourselves at home, Jessica said, leaving Izuku and Diana on their own. Alright Diana, let's set up for the night and, Izuku began when Diana stabbed her spear on the ground before pulling out her sword. Agreed, Izuku, we must prepare a banquet for Jessica's parents for allowing us sanctuary. I'll go get some meat, you set the table, Diana said, getting worried looks from all the rescued animals. Izuku's eyes snapped open as Diana chased after the animals. Diana, wait, Izuku called, taking after Diana before she hunted some animal to eat. 30 minutes later, Jessica returned with her parents. Jessica's moms were both middle-aged women with tanned caramel skins and wore green clothes. I am so thankful that you're all right with Diana and Izuku staying the night, Jessica said. I promise you that Diana is the perfect houseguest. Honey, you don't need to keep selling her, Jessica's mom, Maria said. We're sure that they are great. I'm more interested in meeting this young man myself, Helena added. Mom, please, we're going through a rough patch at the moment, Jessica said, blushing slightly before they all saw the living room. Diana and Izuku were sitting on the couch. Diana was eating a bowl of rice and vegetables while Izuku looked exhausted on the other side of the couch. He looked like he had run a marathon in the middle of the desert. Izuku and Diana then noticed the arrival of the home's owners. They got off from the couch and greeted the Cruz family. Welcome back home, Izuku said, bowing down in respect. Hello mother and aunt of Jessica, Diana said, noticing the lack of a male in the house. Jessica, I thought that you were going to pick up your mom and dad? Izuku asked. Izuku, I have two moms, Jessica clarified. They had a donor to have me, she added. Oh, I'm so sorry, Izuku said, bowing repeatedly in respect. I didn't mean to assume anything. My name is Izuku Midoriya. Thank you for letting us stay for the night. Oh, I like him, Helena whispered to her wife. What an amazing wonder. I had no idea that modern civilization could allow two females to procreate without the need of a man, Diana said, shaking the hands of both moms. I am so honored to be allowed to sleep in your house. While Diana spoke to both Helena and Maria, Jessica slipped behind them to check up on Izuku. Izuku, what happened while I was gone? Te ves como si hubieras corrido un maratón, Jessica asked. First Diana tried hunting some big animal for a feast to welcome your parents. Then she tried to drop her stuff on a bonsai tree. She nearly put her weapons in the dishwasher, Izuku said, recounting the 30 minutes that felt like 12 hours. But I think she understands that she can't apply her warrior life in a home that may not agree with her views. But I still feel like she should be given a chance to sleep here. Aw, thanks Izuku, you're a lifesaver, Jessica said, kissing Izuku's forehead. No, nada de eso. You keep the bed salsa in your room with a sock on your door, Maria said. Mija, at least let us have dinner before you take him upstairs. Izuku and Jessica's faces turned beet red as Maria Cruz looked at them with a look that could be described as, I know what you two did. Mom, what are you talking about? We aren't doing anything like that, Jessica said, blushing. Mija, mi amor, we weren't born yesterday. We know you two already had sex, Helena said, joining the conversation. You forgot that it was our turn to wash your sheets. Izuku wished that the earth would swallow him whole. And by the looks of it, Jessica wanted the very same thing. Just then a loud creak came from the second floor. They looked up and spotted a large wet spot with a leak. Diana, did you run a bath while I was putting together a snack for you? Izuku asked. Yes, Diana sheepishly replied. The water from the shower made the roof give out, collapsing on top of Izuku. He quickly pushed Jessica out of the way, taking the whole water on top of his head. He was now wet as a dog and just as miserable. I'm so sorry, Diana said as Izuku spit out some of the water he had swallowed. It's okay, Diana, but maybe you need to check another spot, Izuku suggested, before turning to the Cruz mothers. It was a pleasure meeting you. Sorry for the ceiling. Diana couldn't help but feel a sting of guilt that Izuku got doused by her actions. The next day, Diana and Izuku had gone to sleep with Z at her penthouse apartment. She had the place all to herself because her dad was doing a show in Las Vegas, so sleeping in there wouldn't be a problem. She had shown both of her friends her before-sleep ritual, which included a green moisturizing facial, a herbal tea, a massage, and a steam bath. And now we are all in our pajamas and we can go to bed, knowing that Selene, the goddess of the moon, is praised, Z finished, putting on the last bit of her mascara on her face. Oh, that was very respectful of you, Z, Diana said, clapping. I'm sure that Selene would be thankful for your offering. Diana had her hair tied in a ponytail and wore a white robe that looked like a pajama for the ancient Greeks, which left little to the imagination. Izuku, meanwhile, wore a green sleeping t-shirt with the kanji for hero on it and a pair of dark green pants. Thanks for letting us sleep here for the night, Z. We really appreciate it, Izuku said. Oh, you don't need to worry, darling. I am more than happy to let you two stay here, Z replied. I would invite you to my bed, darling, but we must abide by the rules of your punishment. I hope the couch bed isn't too bad for you two. Don't worry, Z, we'll make do, Izuku said with confidence. We shall defeat this couch bed and sleep soundly, Z, Diana added. We shall see you in the morning. With that said, both Izuku and Diana went to the living room where the bed had been set up. Diana, you can have the bed, I'll sleep on the floor, Izuku said. Nonsense, Izuku. We can share a bed without any problems, or as Kara called hanky-panky, Diana said. Now it is time for my own sleeping ritual, she added, lighting a candle. Oh, is it like a prayer or a couple bows, Izuku asked. Something like that, Diana said before she began her ritual. Diana whispered a small prayer in front of the candle before she began jumping over the candle over and over again, much to Izuku's shock. Izuku noticed that Diana's ritual was a fire hazard. He caught the jumping Amazon before putting her away from the candle. He then picked up said lit candle and blew its flame out. Diana, you can't be doing that in a place where you could start a fire, Izuku said. But I've done this ritual every night and nothing like that has happened, Diana said. I do not wish to upset the goddess by not finishing my ritual. You do not wish to go to the realm of sleep without the protection of Selene. I'm sure that Selene will understand if you skip today, Izuku said. We are guests here, and we need to follow the rules of this house. Diana thought about it before realizing her mistake. You may be right, Izuku. As a guest, I cannot do something that might anger or displease my host, Diana said. We should go to bed for now. Izuku sighed with relief before he went to the couch bed. He laid on the left side with Diana taking the right side. They drifted off to sleep. But as they slept, Diana couldn't help but feel uncomfortable on the bed. She turned and moved, hoping to get a better position to sleep on. But she wasn't able to find the proper position. The metal pieces and the too soft mattress weren't getting along with her back. She rolled on the mattress, punching it to flatten it. Diana, is something wrong? Izuku asked, watching the Amazon beat on the bed. I was hoping to flatten the bed but it won't budge, Diana punched, making the bed bust open with the feathers blowing out. I think I just killed the bed. After patching up the bed as best as they could, Izuku and Diana slept on the floor. They managed to get some sleep before Diana woke up again. She wanted some water. Izuku, do you have any water? Diana asked. No, but maybe there's some in the kitchen, Izuku surmised, getting up to check if there was any water in the kitchen. Izuku looked around for a bottle of water, but didn't find a single drop. He could have offered Diana some water from the sink, but he figured that it wasn't all that appealing. He didn't want to wake up Z to call the desk for room service, that would have been rude. Izuku then remembered that at the front desk there was a vending machine with water. He put on his shoes before going down to the vending machine. He purchased a couple of bottles before going back to the apartment. Diana drank the water, letting out a satisfied sigh. Thank you, Izuku, Diana said. You are a lifesaver. You're welcome, Diana, Izuku said before they went back to sleep. However, the night was not as quiet as Izuku had hoped for. Diana kept waking him up and moving around, feeling completely out of place and uncomfortable. The night was completely horrible for the two. Their morning wasn't the best one for them. They woke up with bags under their eyes and their respective hairs were wild and unruly. I don't think that this is the place for Diana, Izuku told Z. What happened last night? Z asked. Izuku explained the events of the past night, leading Z to grimace. If that was one night, then she would have to deal with it every night. Perhaps we should try someplace else, Z said. Agreed, but in the meantime I shall do my morning training like the ancient Greeks used to, Diana said, heading to the pool area. Very well, I'll make you two some breakfast and, Z began before a thought crossed her mind. Darling, how did the ancient Greeks train? According to Diana, they did it Izuku's eyes snapped open as he realized what she was implying. Izuku and Z turned to see Diana stretching her body completely naked. Izuku turned beet red while Z's mascara and product fell off. Diana, Prince, get back in here, Z said as she pulled her back inside before the people of the other buildings could see her. The next night had arrived and it was the turn of the Beecher household. Izuku and Diana arrived there, and were quickly surprised by the amount of technology that the house had. However, that did not work out for Diana. Diana stood on Izuku's arms in fear, as Roombas passed between their legs. What manner of pests are these? Diana asked, holding on to Izuku for dear life. These are known as Roombas, Diana. They are little robots built for cleaning, like little pets, Karen said. They even listen to voice commands. Watch, stand by, she ordered, clapping her hands. All the robotic vacuums stopped and returned to their respective stations. Wow, this whole home is wired, Izuku remarked as Diana went back to the floor. That's nothing, we even have a voice-commanded house program. Check it out, Karen said. Athena, turn on the TV and put on channel. TV on channel, a robotic voice called out, spooking Diana a little bit. The television turned on and showed the contents of channel, the Animal Network channel. Athena, what's in the fridge? Karen asked. There are 5 carrots, 2 packets of asparagus, half a dozen eggs, half a carton of 2% milk, and a brand new packet of chicken. The robotic voice said. Athena, lock the windows, Karen said. The windows were then locked from the inside as Karen had commanded. Athena, turn off the air conditioner in the living room, Karen commanded. The air conditioning stopped in the living room while it still went on in the rest of the house. The more Karen commanded and instructed, the more Diana felt herself unsure of what was going on. All this technology was making her dizzy. She couldn't tell what was going on. She even began to only hear technological white noise coming from Karen's mouth. Diana, are you all right? Izuku asked, snapping the Amazon princess from her stupor. Diana shook herself, regaining her bearings before rushing to the TV and looking directly at the screen. How is it that this house has a connection to the goddess Athena? Diana asked, looking at the TV. Is this house built on top of a temple? Calm down, Diana. I'm sure that Karen and her parents only named the program Athena, Izuku said, calming down the Amazon. Yeah, give it a try, Diana, Karen suggested. Diana was unsure as to what to say or do. Oh, great and wise Athena, I seek your counsel. Should I stay here and live in the home of Karen? Diana asked. Although all this technology may be overwhelming for me, I have sworn to protect this city and all of its inhabitants. Please, tell me what should I do? The robotic voice did not reply to Diana's question. A minute passed until it finally spoke. I am sorry, could you repeat that question? The robotic voice asked. Maybe you should try speaking more clearly, Diana, Izuku suggested. You may be right, Izuku. Athena, clear me from doubt. Diana said. Deploying cleaning bots. The robotic voice said, commencing full-body cleaning process. Wait, what? The 3 teens asked as the Roombas shot out of their stations. The cleaning robots rushed at Diana, who ran for her life as the robots chased her. Izuku and Karen chased after them as Karen tried to call off the bots. Oh gracious Athena, please calm the death machine bugs. Diana screamed as she pulled out her sword. Prepare to plunge into a rain of pain, you fiends. Activating sprinklers, the robotic voice replied. Oh no, Karen said as the sprinklers rained down inside the home, short-circuiting the entire house. I think we better try another house, Izuku said. The next day the group had to skip the Danvers home, since they were already at full capacity. Instead, both Izuku and Diana went on to the Gordon residence, where Barbara had told her father that Izuku and Diana were going to stay the night for a school project. Izuku and Diana laid down on the floor of Barbara's bedroom. Everything had gone great so far. Diana had done her ritual and Izuku didn't have to worry about a thing. This might be the place where Diana could finally live in. Everything all right in here, Babs? Commissioner Gordon asked. Yeah, Dad. All set to go to bed, Barbara replied. Thank you for letting us stay here, Mr. Gordon, Diana said. We hope this isn't an inconvenience, Izuku said. Not at all, you 3 sleep tight, Commissioner Gordon said before closing the door. But not a second later did the commissioner pop his head back in, giving Izuku the I am watching you sign. Izuku shuddered at his threat but couldn't help but understand why he was doing it. He had to be on his best behavior, or the old cop would most certainly throw him in a prison cell. I think I'll call it a night. Good night, Diana. Good night, Barbara, Izuku said, laying his head against the pillow. Time passed, allowing the trio to sleep tightly. However, a loud clank noise and a couple of steps woke up Izuku. He opened his eyes and looked around for the source of the noise. His eyes adjusted to the lack of light, only to see a foot stomped in front of his face. He looked up and saw that it was Diana's foot. Her eyes were closed, and she held a spear in her hands. Diana? Izuku asked. Diana turned towards the voice with her eyes still closed. She stabbed at the noise. Izuku rolled out of the way, dodging the spear. Diana, what's wrong? Izuku asked as Diana charged at him with her spear. She spun her spear at great speed and slashed at Izuku, forcing him to jump back. Izuku called upon the power of One for All and dodged against the attacks. He ducked and spun under the attacks of the Amazon. Diana thrusted her spear forward, forcing Izuku to bend backwards to avoid it. Izuku caught the spear in his hands. Diana, what's wrong? Izuku asked, before realizing that Diana was still asleep. Are you sleepwalking? Sleep fighting? Diana grunted in her dream fighting. She then pulled Izuku along with her spear. She then spun him along with the spear over her head in a wild manner. She then flung Izuku against the door, forcing him to fall down the stairs. Izuku spun back to his feet, afraid that the noise woke up either Barbara or her father, but all he heard were the snores coming from Barbara's room. He then spotted Commissioner Gordon listening to music in the kitchen. "Wow, guess that one fight isn't much compared to a night in Gotham," Izuku muttered. Diana cried out as she charged at Izuku once more with her spear held above her head. Izuku jumped back as Diana stabbed the ground, narrowly missing him. "Diana, you need to wake up," Izuku begged, dodging the attacks. "No, you monster. You shall not harm people that I love," Diana called out in her sleep. "Begone, evil Cyclops," she cried out as she continued attacking with her spear. "Diana, there isn't any trouble. You don't need to be on guard all the time," Izuku said. "No, an Amazon must always be ready for a fight," Diana cried out. Izuku called forth of his quirk, catching Diana's hands mid-swing. He wrestled the spear out of her hands. He tried to hold her down as best as he could, but then he spotted Commissioner Gordon getting out of the kitchen. He picked up Diana and hid her inside the closet. He stepped into the closet, letting Barbara's dad pass to his room without spotting them. He pressed his ear to the door to listen to his steps. Izuku heard how the steps went on to the top of the second floor. "That was a close one," Izuku sighed. Just then, a pair of arms wrapped around Izuku's body. They were strong and held him tightly. Izuku was pulled back by the arms in a bear hug. He looked back and saw that it was Diana. She snuggled against him, pressing her nearly naked body against him. She rubbed her face against his cheek in a loving embrace. "Diana?" Izuku asked. Diana moaned, rubbing her cheek deeper against his cheek. "Izuku, so lovely. So soft, so manly," she moaned, nibbling Izuku's ear. Izuku turned red at her words. "Diana, I don't think this is the time or place for this," Izuku whispered. "Besides, I thought that there was no sex for now." "But I miss your touch," Diana whined slightly. "We make love soon, promise me," she moaned, kissing Izuku's cheek. Izuku couldn't help but struggle against the hold of the Amazon. "How about we try that another time," Izuku said, managing to pull himself free from the hold of the lovesick sleepwalking Amazon. Izuku let out a sigh. It would appear that they would sleep in the closet this night. The sun rose once more, and Diana was not pleased with herself. She was ashamed of her behavior of the past night, and her sleep fighting that nearly killed Izuku. She looked down at herself in shame with all her things wrapped up in a bag. Izuku sat by her side on a park bench, comforting her. "Don't worry, Diana. I'm sure we can figure things out," Izuku said. "Maybe we can get you an apartment or a small house somewhere in the city. Thank you for the kind words, Izuku. But what I did was unbecoming of an Amazon to behave in such a manner," Diana replied. "I fear that I may never fully become accustomed to living in a city. I am Diana of Themyscira, and living in the park was the best way I could feel at home." "Diana, you don't have to change who you are to make it in a city. It's all right being homesick," Izuku said before he got an idea. "You can be both of Themyscira and Metropolis, embracing both the past and the future. And I think I know where you could find that balance," he said, holding out his hand. Diana looked at Izuku with happiness. She was touched by the hope and desire to help others that the green-haired boy radiated. She took his hand, seeing him as the man she loved. "Are you for real?" Barbie asked, crossing her arms. Izuku had taken Diana to the one place that he knew was big enough for her, and that would make her feel right at home. He did feel a bit rotten for suggesting Barbie's home without her consent, but it was the best place he could think of. Easy to say that he was getting an earful from Barbie. "Barbie, please, Diana has no other place to go," Izuku pleaded. "We already tried the homes of our other friends and things didn't go the way we hoped. Besides, you mentioned that the mansion is mostly empty." Barbie huffed in annoyance. She eyed at the Amazon and then at her green-haired love. She didn't love the idea of him bringing another woman to her home, but she did enjoy seeing him. "Please, Barbie, you don't need to do anything. I won't force you if you don't want to," Diana said. Barbie didn't know what to say. It wasn't often that she felt touched by truthful words. She wanted to turn her away. She knew that the collar wouldn't force her like that. However, she felt compelled to be nice. It was like someone was tugging at her heartstrings. "Oh, very well. You sleep here one night, and if you don't annoy me then I'll consider letting you stay," Barbie conceded. "Oh, thank you, Barbie, you are the best," Diana said, hugging Barbie in a bone-crushing hug. Izuku gave Barbie a smile and hug of his own. Barbie smiled a genuine smile. She did like having people caring for her. And guys, this is the end. I hope you guys enjoyed well. Until next time, peace.